Namaste and welcome to the Pi podcast. Let's move on then to the other section. So we have the listening section.
We have two types of tests. We have the computer delivered version and the pen and paper test.
You Indians meet much better than we us British people do.
The audios will be it's not the same person who's actually talking.
No.
Second audio will be a female voice.
The student would get a 30-second and 30-second time.
Let's move on then to the other section. So we have the listening section. Asheen, what's involved in the listening section?
See, it is listening, which means you'll be exposed to audio, right? So, as he mentioned, we have two types of tests. We have the computer delivered version and the pen and paper test. The audio is the same, the marking criteria is the same. The only difference that we have is when it comes to the computer delivered test, that is a 30 plus 2 minutes of setup, and then for the pen and paper one, it is a 30 plus 10 minutes of time slot that we have. Which means the 30 minutes audio, long audio would remain the same, which would be divided into 4 short audios of probably 4 to 7 minutes each, right? And every audio is going to have around 10 questions, which means an overall 30 minutes audio would give the student 40 questions to attempt. Now for the pen and paper test, the student will be writing the answers, has the opportunity of writing the answers on the question paper itself, and then later on 10 minutes are given where the student can actually transfer the answers from question paper to answer sheet. And then I believe that's more than enough because those answers are objective type. Right. So transferring just 40 words from question paper to answer sheet is not going to take 10 minutes. So they have extra time for proofreading. But when it comes to the computer delivered test, they do not have any extra time for transferring because they'll be directly typing answers onto the computer screen. So they just get 2 more minutes for proofreading and making any rectifications if they wish to.
I see.
So that's how it goes.
And so it's 40 minutes in total for the paper-based. The 30 minutes, is that just someone continuously talking for 30 minutes?
Yes, it is. So it is an uninterrupted audio. For the pen and paper, the student would get a 30-second and 30-second time. 1 minute divided into 30 seconds and 30 seconds between 2 different audios. So let's say it is audio 1. Audio 1 has finished and now the student will be giving answers to audio 2. So the first 30 seconds, the student will get time to look into the answers that he has already written. So the proofreading part basically. And the next 30 seconds, he'll get that time in order to skim through the questions for the next set.
That's very useful.
So that's how it is.
So it gives you some sort of anticipation about what's to come up and things. Is there much time at the start of the test to look through the questions, or does it just go straight into the audio?
For the first audio, you would get, as I mentioned, just 30 seconds time. You do not have that otherwise. So as soon as the student gets the answer sheet, the audio would be played, or let's say, let's keep it vice versa. So the audio is played and the student just gets access to the answer sheet. So they do not have a lot of time to read the questions.
Right. So, so you really do have to be fully focused. Make sure you have your Weetabix in the mornings and you get a good sleep. That was a very English phrase. Have your Weetabix. Now you Indians meet much better than we us British people do. Weetabix, I do not miss that food.
Listening, there is certain more criteria to be aligned with, is like your singular plural adaptation of words. Yeah. And if you are a person who's writing an alphabet with capital, then it must continuously go on with a capital. You can't have a capital and a small letter making an answer basically. Yes. You need to have a consistent way of following the instructions what they're giving you. If you're a person who's writing small letters, then you must continue with that. Spellings do really make a huge difference because there is a point band guaranteed difference that you might lose one answer wrong, you'll lose a point band over there.
And just to add to his part, for the computer delivered test, now the answers have to be case sensitive. Initially, they had this opportunity of either putting everything in capital letters or the small letters, but now it is case sensitive for computer delivered, but for pen and paper, the same criteria is still there.
Gosh, right. So they really are particular about some of the rules, aren't they? I see. So what are your top tips, Asheen, for mastering the listening exam?
Practice makes a man perfect, right? So I think the more you practice, the more used to you will get to different accents, because listening is not just one accent. You would come across audios of different accents, starting from, let's say, the British accent. So we have Canadian accent, we have audios in American accent from the New Zealand, Australian accent. So it would not be wrong if I say that all the 4 short audios that you would get would be in different accents, right? So the more you practice, practice with different accents, the more easy it will become for the student basically to understand and to write down the answers. Apart from that, see, another challenge that we have is the pace of the audio. So as the audio progresses, let's say the first audio is the easiest one to attempt, typically because of the category of questions. Let's say we have completion type questions in the form of table filling. So there are certain questions that we can judge, right? You know, we have questions based on numbers, we have questions based on names, right? So there will be phone number that would be spoken and you just have to write it down. If there are any names to be given, any nouns, so the spellings are already given. So you have an opportunity of getting a 10 on 10 in that section. And that is the slowest of all audios. So as you progress, probably the third and the fourth audio is going to be the most difficult one for the student to attempt based on the category of questions, because we tend to see more of matching type and MCQs over there, which the students find difficult. And apart from that, the pace of audio is going to be a little more in comparison to the first two audios. So pace of audio is one challenge. Then there are a lot of distractors. So in the second audio, in the first audio and in the third audio, which has a conversation between 2 and 3 people respectively, there, since we have more number of speakers, we tend to have more number of distractions. Right. So the student needs to listen to the end to make sure whether the answer is correct or it was just a distractor for me. I'll probably give you an example. So let's say we hear a conversation. It's a conversation between you and me. So I ask you, so where do you work, or what is your occupation? And you probably tend to say that, okay, I work with at the XYZ hospital, right? And I have a blank space saying, asking for the occupation. And then the next part of the audio would say that, okay, that means you're a doctor. Right. Now that was a distractor, because the speaker would rectify, no, I work at the XYZ hospital, but I am working in the accounts department over there. So I am the head cashier, let's say. So the first one, which was the doctor, that was a distractor for you. So the student will have to be a bit patient, I would say, not keep a lot of patience so that you tend to forget all the answers.
That's the key to listening in general, isn't it? It takes patience.
You need to be a bit patient, and you need to listen to the end to make sure whatever you're writing or you're putting on the computer screen is correct.
Fantastic.
Would you agree, both of you, like the audios will be actually, it's not the same person who's actually talking.
No.
Second audio will be a female voice, perhaps.
Yes.
And it could be a distractor for 2 or 3
So how many
people.
audios in total?
Total 4 audios. Like
4 audios, I see, right.
Every time you listen to an audio, there'll be a pause, long pause, asking you to read the questions perhaps before, and you familiarize yourself with the instructions given, right?
True.
And all different accents, I imagine, as well, which is very important, because most people in India grow up with very similar accents. When they're hear English, they'll hear all very similar accents. But yeah, English is spoken in so many different accents, even in the UK itself. In the UK itself, there's off the top of my head, I could probably list about 20 different accents in the UK alone. And when coming here, I thought I spoke very clearly, and I thought I don't have an accent that people would struggle with, because in the UK, I have an accent that most people can understand. And every day I still say, it's quite hard to understand your accent. I'm like, but I'm speaking as clearly as possible. But it's just because the accents that you're not used to hearing, they're the difficult accents, aren't they? And so yeah, it's very important to get yourself used to listening to other accents as well, isn't it?
What begins to be a person talking alone could lead to a monologue and so on and so forth. Like getting a third person being part of the conversation, you wouldn't even realize how the third audio has led to fourth one, where the student is actually thinking, is it going to take a pause? Am I going to read the question? But it does not give you an option. It just takes you through the story, and then you need to source the answers by reading the instructions and comprehending what they're trying to say. Every alphabet this utter actually holds a valid point over there, that it could be an answer over there.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Rishi, we've got reading the questions beforehand to go through them, looking out for distractors. What other strategies would you say are really important for the listening test?
I would say pay attention to the spellings, because not necessarily what you understand by a word Robin, R-O-B-I-N, it could actually be R-O-B-Y-N, for an example, right? For people living in India, perhaps they may be used to saying J-H-O-N John or J-O-H-N John, but actual word could be J-O-N John. still. And Koreans write C-O-N, but still sounds as John.
Oh, really?
Yes. So this could be one of the distractors. And when you have a monologue dialogue, it is actually asking you to phrase yourself in a way that they are asking you to gauge the answer beforehand. They are looking for verbs, what you call nouns. It could be an alternative that you're looking for in the answer. You need to pay very close attention to those